There's a new movie. It is called A Most Violent Year. It stars Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain. It is set in New York City in 1981, which was the most dangerous year in the city's history. It follows an immigrant businessman as he tries to protect his business without compromising his values. Here is the trailer for the film. Joining me now are the film's two stars, Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain. I am pleased to have them at this table. Welcome.
Thank you.
You two, this is a reunion, this movie, in a bit for you, is it?
Yeah, but you know, we've never said goodbye, Charlie. We've been friends for 12 years.
It began at Juilliard.
Yeah.
But you were ahead of him, or he was ahead of you?
I was 2 years his upperclassman.
I was the underclassman? I still am, to a certain extent.
No, not at all.
I'm just kidding.
And we were friends. I've always admired his work from afar, and, you know, he's inspired me every time I've seen him act. And then this is the first time we've been able to share a scene.
And how did it happen?
Well, I was attached to this film, and I was going to do it with another actor, and that actor fell out, and Oscar had just come out with Inside Llewyn Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Which his performance is incredible in that. And I said to J.C., you know,
J.C. Chandler.
Yeah, our incredible writer-director, J.C. Chandler. And I said, I might have a guy that's perfect for this role. And I sent a long email, and once they met, it was done.
Is that right? No audition, nothing? Or
No, well, I guess it was kind of an audition. He would summon me throughout the weeks, and I'd come over, and either we'd just hang out, and I would just kind of listen to him talk about this and that. And then one time he brought me out to these oil tankers out in Williamsburg, where we were going to shoot, and just showed me around, but I still hadn't gotten the part. So I just wasn't really sure how to act. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
I have the part, but I didn't want to say that. And then we were in L.A., and then he asked me to come over to his place, and I guess the whole time he was trying to put the financing together, because, you know, it was, you know, having me play the role, it was going to shift how they got the money for the film. And then when that finally happened, he did finally say, yes, and by the way, you do have the part. Yeah.
What did you take from Juilliard?
Well, so much. I mean, you know, right before we started, you were talking about voice and an understanding about the voice and how to use it. You know, very technical things. You know, a lot of the movies that I've done, I guess because I have this ethnically ambiguous kind of thing going on, I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of different parts from people from different places in the world, and just the ability to be able to do accents. All the dialect work that we did just gave a foundation, and it really gave a basic foundation on how to approach a script and how to approach a character. And what was so great is that Jessica and I both have the same foundation, so we have a shorthand when it came to putting this this movie together.
What would you add to that in terms of what you came out of Juilliard with?
Juilliard gives you all the tools, right? It gives you a toolbox. You have Meisner and Strasberg, you have sense memory, Stanislavski, voice work, Edith Skinner, you have Linkletter, you know, you have so much that you can take from there. Animal work. And so when out of school now, when I'm approaching a role, I don't work the same way for each part.
Tell me about your character in this film.
I play Abel Morales, who is a Latin American immigrant and who's come to this country and has worked hard. He was a truck driver and then got into sales and married the boss's daughter and was able to buy the company, and has a plan to expand. And it's a time in the city, 1981, when it's one of the most violent years on record. It's on New York City's on the state of economic collapse and bankruptcy. There's the great exodus that's happening. People are just leaving in droves. And this man sees opportunity here. And he says, when everyone's leaving, I'm going to build. And he's an optimist. You know, he sees the other side of this thing. And he thinks that if we can stick to the strategy, which is nonviolent, and not resort to gangsterism and criminality, we can make it to the goal.
And how would you describe the relationship? but before we say that, I mean, clearly there's a question of his values, too. I mean, he thinks he can do it without being corrupted.
Yeah, to a certain extent, and I think
to a certain extent,
to a certain extent. I think that he's strategic. I don't think that it's coming necessarily from a place of righteousness. I think that the smartest strategy.
It's not righteousness. It's not.
I don't think it is.
Really?
I had a very hard time understanding it from a moral standpoint. You know, the gun. He doesn't want guns. I get it.
Strategy.
But I think he thinks if they find me with a gun, even if I got it legally, if I shoot someone, they'll just, I'm playing into exactly what they think I am.
They being the cops, or they being
the DA, the cops, his
competitors?
competitors, everybody. They just want to, they want to put him to the side and say, you're just a Latin thug with a gun.
Yeah.
You're not
so
a...
they'll define you.
Yeah, they want him to be the stereotype, and he doesn't want to do that.
And so how would you describe his wife?
Well, Anna definitely has a different way of going about business. Her father was very comfortable with illegal activity. She's a chip off the old block. I think that Get it done. And I think that violence turns her on, in a way. I think power turns her on. She's a woman, 1981, it's a man's world. If she were born a son, she would have been running the company. But because in 1970, when it would have been given away, wouldn't have been given away to his daughter. So let's give it to her husband. She wants to be with...
She regrets that.
I think so.
You think she would like to be...
Yeah, I think that there's some, and maybe she's not even aware of it. I think there's some resentment. I think that, you know, and it bubbles up in the scenes between them where she aligned herself with this man that she thought was going to be her king. He would take the place of her father. And when he behaves in a way that her father wouldn't, when she sees that in her mind he's appearing weak, she then has to step forward. And in doing so, something is freed within her, starting with, there's a scene where she shoots a gun, and from that moment in the movie, she starts to like the power she's having from now coming forward.
It's the scene where they ran over the deer, I forgot what it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you didn't want to shoot and bring...
Yeah, there was a moment... Well, he didn't have a gun. As far as Abel knows, there's no gun. Right. All you have is a tire iron. Right. So he goes and stands over it as if he's going to have to, you know, brain it.
And she comes in and almost with joy.
Yeah, there's a thing of like, huh,
release.
Like I showed you, like it's a moment of, yeah, I kept my tongue, I was quiet, I let you be the face of it because it's 1981 and that you're the man. But you know what? You're not doing a good job. I'm going to take over.
And what did she say to him?
At what point? She says a whole lot to him.
Oh, yeah. She
says, you better not like what'll happen once I get involved.
Yeah. But didn't she say you're a pussy?
Yeah, she does say that.
Yeah,
the thing, it's weird because she's a woman, I think she likes to be with a powerful man, and she lifts him up, lifts him up, lifts him up. Yeah. The next second, she emasculates him, and she doesn't even know she's doing it. So I find her kind of funny.
And she really loves him.
And she loves him, absolutely.
I think there's also something about trying to get a reaction. You know, you're someone, he keeps saying, I'll take care of it, it's fine. Doesn't engage, really. And so, you know, at that point, it's like, you know, shooting, you know, with a gun right in front of him, calling him a... You know, like really coming at him.
That's what her whole thing is, be a man. What are you?
And what does he say in response to that? He says, do you know how stupid this is?
So
you know, he doesn't take the bait.
Right.
And it's a little bit about watching someone, you know, control their pride and their ego. And that's an interesting thing. I think the thing about both of these characters is you really see them presenting something and who they really are coming to the surface.
But also what is really interesting to me is that he's being tested throughout the film. I mean, there is a gradual tightening of the pressure on him because of what the stakes are, and losing what he's betting on forces him to reconsider and to get closer to, or a bit distant from where he thought he was in the beginning.
Or at least he no longer compartmentalized the fact that, you know, you've been allowing yourself to be willfully ignorant about certain things.
Roll tape. Here's one scene. Take a look. You have said, and I have a quote somewhere here. Here's what you said. This man is not who I am at all, and I don't know how I was going to find my way in. Tell me more about that.
The script is quite dense when I read it, and it's about things that are very alien to me, and also just not my interest, which is why I'm an actor. It's about, you know, real estate, business, heating oil, money, finance, all things that I ran away from and went to acting school instead. So finding my way into being passionate about heating oil and passionate about these things, that was tricky. And also, you know, he's incredibly formal. He doesn't speak with any contractions.
And elegant too.
Yeah. And so, you know, finding the emotional just spine of that guy, that was very tricky, and finding the thing that I could relate to. And ultimately, I think when I figured out he was a salesman and understood that everything is about presentation, that keyed me in. That keyed me into the guy.
And this is what you said about your character.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Oh, guess.
The Dick Cheney?
Yes.
I could tell from your face.
I wanted to play Dick Cheney.
Yeah. There was, when I got the script, the documentary, I don't know if you saw it, the documentary on Dick Cheney, came out.
Right.
And it was fresh in my mind, and I read the script, and I sat down with JC. We had a 4-hour lunch, and I said, it's going to sound off the wall, but to me, she's not the wife. She's Dick Cheney. Yeah. And he's the face of the partnership. This is going to sound terrible, but in her eyes, she's the brain of it, and she's going to do the dirty stuff that he wants to be ignorant of and to keep him clean. Okay, but you don't want to be ignorant of it. You just simply don't want to be involved in it, or you don't want to be tainted by it because, as you suggested, it's strategic to him.
Yeah, I do think that.
But does he have an awareness that she thinks he's weak, and he just simply dismisses that as her upbringing and values?
I think there's definitely that's definitely part of it, but I don't think he's that self-aware about these kind of things. I think that he's someone that came to this country and worked his way through as in a very blue-collar kind of way. He was a truck driver, and then he got into sales because he has the personality and he has the will.
Now, this is a backstory you created?
I mean, yeah, it's to a certain extent, but it's also laid out a little bit in the script. But it's something that Jessica and I got together.
Yeah.
And
you did do that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got together over a tea, and we went through every single line in the script and said, what does this mean? Has this, there's a scene where I hit him. We said, has this ever happened before? Have we ever been physically violent? Yeah. So we made everything so specific that when we were on set, we could just play, and we had a shared history.
And this, the two of you, not with the director.
We did it first by ourselves, and then we went to the director with our binders, and we said, this is what we figured out. Are we right? And he filibustered us and was like, you Juilliard kids are freaking me out. Leave me alone.
That's true. Okay, here's another scene. Take a look at this. This is where you're talking to the DA, played by David Oyelowo. You love that, didn't you?
The funny thing is, I didn't know when it was happening, like, that it was going to become a whole thing, and now people are tweeting me, like, GIFs of me going, this was very disrespectful. I'm like, fantastic. Strangers on the street come up to me and go, disrespectful.
I think David said people come up to him and do it too.
I love it. It's so gangster.
Yeah, it is.
He's a great actor.
He's fantastic.
I mean, he's getting a lot of star turn now because of all the attention on Martin Luther King and Selma.
I know. And David and I have been in 3 films, but this is the first scene we've ever had together because our characters have never crossed, and it was good fun. What I love so much about that scene is she's not even aware of it, but when she says, like, my husband's not my father, she keeps mixing up him and us. So you better treat us with respect, or he'll make it his mission in life to destroy you. She's actually talking about herself.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, you get that.
It just goes to show how great she is, too, because that was her idea to bring out a piece of cake to him. So you see him holding this huge piece of birthday cake.
And that was your idea to do.
Yeah, it was just a great little thing.
Which is weird, like when you talk about, I want really long nails, or, I want to give him a piece of cake. At the time, people are like, that's crazy. Why would she be handing him cake? But when you see it, it's so emasculating for this DA to be standing there holding a birthday cake when she's like, we're friends, and then she just kind of hands him his ass.
Has anybody in the conversation about this character mentioned the word Lady Macbeth?
Yes, they do. They bring it up a lot. And the thing, which I love, because Lady Macbeth's incredible, and I think the similarities of it's a wife trying to talk her husband into doing something illegal for their own benefit. You're right. But the difference between Lady Macbeth and Anna is that Lady Macbeth goes crazy. Anna doesn't.
Not crazy.
Instead, violence doesn't turn her stomach. It actually
But what does she go through, though, in this film? I
think she gets bigger. I think if we saw her in a year, in 5 years, 10 years,
next question,
it's something is starting to be opened, and now they have a conversation where she doesn't have to be secret about the way she's been handling things, because now it's out in the open, and he's, in essence, even though he hasn't verbally agreed, he's taken the money. So now we don't have to play this game.
I don't want to give too much of this away, but she had some money which in the end became necessary in order to save his... because he would have lost the thing that he thought was the key to being competitive.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Well, he would have lost everything if he doesn't close on his property.
But he put it on the line. I mean, he was right there on the line and showing you his own toughness.
Well, it's also something that JC said. He said, a lot of these people that are mega successful, you don't realize that there's been at least 2 or 3 times in their lives when they have literally risked everything to grow.
Right.
And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing these people.
The 30 days of risking everything.
Risking absolutely everything.
Yeah. So where is he in the end of this film? He has a goal. He wants to achieve his goal.
Yeah.
People have put a bunch of obstacles in his way. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know exactly. I think that he can feel confident that his strategy has worked.
But is he more confident because in the end he triumphed, or he simply know through some self-realization that he had to change in order to achieve?
He does, at a certain point, resort to some violence, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't go all the way with it.
He can't.
He resorts to taking money that was, illegal. Right. So he does allow himself to really see for the first time, and he unfortunately he doesn't have that innocence anymore by the end of it, because I think he says the hardest thing you can do is stare someone in the eye and tell them the truth. But in order to be able to tell them the truth, you have to believe what you're saying.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know how he's going to move forward, being able to believe that he is taking the that's why it's funny at the end he doesn't say, I take the right path. He says, I take the path that is most right.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Let me talk a bit about acting. Are there compromises in acting similar to the compromises that we see in this kind of film, not having to do with fraud or not having to do with doing illegal things, but some sense of how you saw a career that might be unfolding versus, in the end, how it unfolds?
Yeah, I've been lucky because I've never had to do that. I mean, it took me a long time, though, to break through in this industry. I've done a lot of I did a lot of TV work in the beginning where I was playing a lot of victims. I will say, and at the time, I wouldn't want to do that anymore. At the time, I didn't think about what I was putting out into the world. Like, every character I was playing was getting raped and brutalized in some way on these TV shows, which I think is a terrible thing to keep putting out into the world.
But you weren't typecast as a victim.
Well, no, actually, at one point, I did a TV series, a guest spot of a character who gets raped and brutalized, and then a few weeks later, I got offered a role as a guest spot on another TV show, and I didn't have to audition, and because it was the same producer, and it was like the rape victim. I thought, I don't want to be typecast as this, so we got to change that. But other than that, I've only taken roles. We made this movie for hardly any money. I did it for
this movie?
Yeah, the creative experience.
Yeah. And working with him.
Yeah, he makes me better.
Yeah, how does an actor make you better?
Because when you're in a scene, if someone shows up and they are bringing it, you've got to bring it back. You can't be lazy. Yeah, you look like a fool if you're like, I don't know my lines, I don't know what I'm doing.
More than that. More than bringing out the best that you can have.
Well, she would do that too. She would provoke me. And I don't, sometimes I didn't know if it was Anna doing it or Jessica doing it or what, but those, because we would do vastly different things. There's a scene where we were fighting and, I tried to hit a glass out of her hand and it didn't go. And I just laugh at him. And she just held on and she would just laugh at me and then it would be, I just couldn't handle it. It was so intense. But it would force me to really deal with what was happening, you know. So
every take was different with Oscar. We just got to play, and I trusted that he would do. I could trusted him to do anything, and it was never out of the world of the character. It was never just to be different and fun. It was, I had to be present because he was so present. Oscar Isaac, Michael Shannon, Al Pacino, Sean Penn, those are those actors that you show up, you have to be in the moment present, because if you're thinking about how you're going to say your lines or what you're going to have for lunch or if it's too cold, it's gone, and you haven't been there.
You said that you found that what you wanted to do with your life was acting, not banking or trucking or any of those other things. Has it given you what you thought it would give you, acting?
Yes.
What is that?
I think it's the only thing that, weirdly enough, gives me calm and peace. It's like the one thing I know that I can do that, and I know the joy that it gives me. And really, I think the part that I love the most is the preparation. When when you know, the possibilities are endless, when you're looking for inspiration, when you're, especially when you're working with someone like Jessica, where you can just talk about it and create. It's a real creative process. So it's been really rewarding.
Talk about women, and I just interviewed Reese Witherspoon, who's now, in order to take over her own control of her life, and not to use obvious words, put together a production company because she was not getting the roles that she thought she should, having won an Oscar and other things. Is that an issue?
You know what? I'm very lucky. I'm getting sent incredible scripts. I'm in a moment right now of my career that I am so grateful for. However, as an audience member, I'm very upset to go to the cinema and not see more diversity in the cinema. And that goes beyond women. It goes to African Americans, it goes to Asian Americans. In particular, also, too, for women, it goes for women in their 50s and 60s. It's like they're erased. Yeah. But it's not just...
And when people say, well, there's Meryl Streep, you say there's only one Meryl Streep.
Yeah, I mean, she's the greatest. I mean, she's such an incredible actress, one of the best in the world. And, you know, there's also Jessica Lange, and there's, you know, and Glenn Close. Good. And why can't they also? Why are there not enough roles? Not? I don't think people in the industry are sexist or racist. I think actually there are a lot of really good people in the industry. I think people have just, we've been stuck. And the stories have been mostly about men. And the writing has been, but even across the board, there's only 3% of DPs are women. And I read this article.
This is director of photography.
Yeah, about these women talking about how impossible it is for them to break through because you have to know people, you have to borrow kits, and it's not as difficult for men to break through becoming a director of photography as it is for women. It's also in the theater industry.
Yeah, but the interesting thing, do you think women look after each other more than men do?
I look after women.
I know Absolutely. You do, and I know other women that do. They feel they have a commitment. Chris Rock is a friend of mine, you know.
I loved his piece he wrote in The Hollywood Reporter. Did you read? Oh, gosh, that was amazing.
You know, but I mean, he's talked to me about how, he said, you know, Tom Cruise doesn't have an obligation to a white audience. But I feel, and Denzel feels, we have an obligation. It's different. And you seem to feel like you have an obligation.
I absolutely feel that.
How can I leverage the success I have or the achievement I have?
I mean, there's the
to open more doors to more women.
Definitely. I mean, there is the fear when we talked about how I started and I was guest spots on TVs and playing victims. When you're starting, of course you don't say anything because you just want to work and you're so excited. And then when you finally get invited to the club, you think, I'm here, I don't want to say anything to upset anyone. Yes. But actually, we all need to take care of each other. And I know incredible men who speak up for there should be more female roles. In Interstellar, the character I played was originally written for a man, and Chris changed it to a woman without changing.
Because he saw you in the role?
No, just because he realized there's so many stories about fathers and sons. What about a father and daughter? He didn't have to change anything else about the character. He even kept the name Murph.
Oh, that's right.
So it goes to show women and men aren't that different. The DA could have easily been a woman as a man in this film or in many films. Right. And I think the more we talk about it, I do feel a responsibility to bring it up, to talk about it. It creates opportunity for everyone, and that's what I'm most excited about.
How is Chris Nolan different as a director?
You know, he's like an independent film director, which is shocking. I was really scared when before I went to shoot that film because I thought, this is a blockbuster. I don't do these kind of movies. I don't know what this is. And you show up, and all the sets were practical. They built everything. There was no green screen. Even the Tesseract at the end was built. The dust was real. Sometimes I would do 3 takes, and he'd go, okay, we're done. And I'd say, wait, we have enough money to go on. And then he goes, I have it. Yeah. We finished, I think, 2 weeks early on that film.
Here's a clip. Take a look. Wow.
It's interesting. It's funny watching that and watching the clips from A Most Violent Year because it makes me grateful for our training because you think, like, even the energies of the characters are so different. One is so comfortable in her skin and is like, hello, I'm here, you're welcome. And the other one is just like wants to disappear. And that's what we learned in Moni's class.
And what did you learn with the Coen brothers?
About pain.
Your own pain?
Yeah. They're a little sadistic.
Really?
Well, no, just like...
You didn't know that.
Are they really?
Well, when
I
it
thought
comes...
they'd be funny and like.
They are.
Are they terrible?
No,
That's great.
when it comes to comedy. So
Yes.
if ever I did a take when I would think about it as a like, oh, this is really funny, I would do it and they'd be like, and then I would go back and I would just think about just pain and the pain of this person, and just I would really have that in there, and I would do it and they would crack up. They would just start laughing.
So the more in pain you
So
were,
the
the
more
more
in pain
they
the
laughed.
character was, the more that
The funnier
they
it
laughed.
was for them.
The funnier it was for them. I think it's just the more. I think they laugh when they see something that's truthful.
That's actually really smart.
Yeah. So they were great, and they're a couple of beatniks. It feels like they should be running a coffee shop.
Is this the first film, I'm thinking about all the things that I know that you have done, in which you felt a real responsibility to carry the film?
No, that doesn't really come into it at all. No, because I think then you get ahead of it too much. You know, I'm interested in the cumulative effect of what happens, and this one, in a way, is similar to Llewyn Davis. When you're that close to the character and you're with him for that long, I think it's more interesting to do the slow play and eke out. You know, little bit by little bit, you see who the character is as it goes on and on and on, and that the cumulative effect of watching the film, you get a sense of who this person is, as opposed to feeling like I need to, pull the weight of every scene or anything like that.
One of the interesting things that intrigues me about acting too, and I love talking about the craft of it all, as I like talking about the craft and understanding the process about other things, is that it is by nature, something that you are constantly learning.
Definitely.
Because there is a window that you can put up there, and take a look at it and think about it, how would I have done different? Or you can experiment on the set with doing it. There are a whole range of ways to approach it from a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, curiosity is the most important thing, I think. Staying curious about what it is and how. I think ultimately what we're being paid to do is just inhabit a psyche for a certain amount of time and play that out. Play that meditation out, and how to do that. I'm constantly curious about what that process is, and refining it. And like you said, every character is different. Every single one that you play requires different parts of yourself.
And experience.
Yeah, different experience.
Take a look at this. This is the final scene we'll show from the film where you're teaching your salesman how to sell. Here it is. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
I love coming here.
Thank you.
Talking about acting and
and film and experience and training and all of those things. A Most Violent Year is out now in limited release. It goes wide on Friday, January 30th. Thank you again. Thank you. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too, Charlie.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.